So Amadeo goes in. He goes in hard and fast like a prison rape. They try and grab the Congo. They arrest his guys. He has to negotiate to get the guys out. The CIA's involved. It's a whole thing. He threatens he hires he hires a bunch of mercenaries to basically fly in and rescue the troops. He doesn't have to do it, but he does actually hire them, and they're waiting to go in. So while did I tell you that most of I love this. Most of the meetings that he has, like to arrange these types of things, like he has a bunch of meetings with some people from, is it Tajikistan? Because he also tries a coup in Tajikistan. They have their meetings like at Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's just perfect. Like the whole thing takes place in Orlando.
That's perfect.
I mean, it's so fitting for somebody who thinks he's going to take over the world.
Yeah,
so
it is.
After they get the guys back, he's also trying to. He also is approached by some oligarchies who want to take over Tajikistan because they're having an issue with Putin, and they're trying to get him to pull off a coup in Tajikistan.
Tajikistan?
I think it's Tajikistan.
Tajikistan? Jerky?
So that's happening, and then so the other thing is so look, once he gets the guys back, right? So
he gets them. How does he get them back?
Well, I mean, they basically let him go. Like there's just so much pressure on them, and they're.
And what is it? They do that to try to like derail him running.
Absolutely. Because his guy now ends up taking he ends up coming in like fifth. I mean, the guy was like third, and he may end up having won. But now you just basically decimated his entire campaign. We just took 32 of your Congo guys. So these guys are basically like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
These guys will basically just grab us and shoot us in the fucking street.
Yeah.
So I like you. I want you to be president. It's not worth me dying.
Yeah.
So
been real.
His guy ends up comes in fifth. Amadeo ends up being invited to the White House. I've got pictures of him with President Bush.
Insane.
You've seen the picture of him with President Bush.
Yep.
And it's not like a photo op. I mean, he's in the Roosevelt room with people from NATO, and they're all sitting there talking, and it's just not a photo op.
That's crazy to think he made it to the White House.
The White House.
He's standing there with those people, and this guy's trying to take over the whole fucking world.
And what's so funny is, but think about it, if you had a buddy who said that to you.
Everybody that's in politics somewhat don't you think everybody in politics is kind of like him? Not to
they're
that extreme.
Everybody's got a little quirky.
The foundation of that way of thinking,
look at Steve
I feel
Jobs.
like is in some way or another in the people's minds that are in politics.
What, that they ultimately want to take over the world?
Not that they I'm not saying to that extreme
extent,
but like a watered down version of that.
I mean, yeah, I think they all think that they may all think that they want to make some massive changes, but keep in mind he's
trying to dominate.
He's off the rails.
I mean, run the world.
Yeah, he's trying to. He's thinking, look, I'm going to do it economically, or I'm going to do it with force, but it's going to happen. And he's actively look. If you gave me $200 million, I'm still never going to think
I can take over the world now.
I can start I can start invading countries now.
Yeah.
It's not going to. I'm going to go buy some planes. I'm going to get these guys over here. We're going to go in. It's never even going to enter my mind. This is the other thing that kills me about him.
Somebody should give him a lot of money.
He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. You gave me $100 million. I'm going to have a penthouse filled with strippers. I'm driving a couple Ferraris and maybe a Porsche and a Lambo. This guy doesn't do anything. He's driving like a 5-year-old Mercedes.
Is that what you would do with $100 million?
That's a goddamn lie. You're going straight to your hairline.
Really?
One of the things. Well, and I get one more.
How much money would you spend on the hair?
One more. I just need one more surgery,
$7,000.
bro.
That's all you need.
$7,000.
That's nothing.
7 stacks.
Ain't nothing.
7 racks.
We could probably get that in the chat.
Totally worth it.
Can we get 7 racks in the chat for Matt Cox's hairline?
Racks in the chat.
Racks in the chat. Racks in the chat.
He then ends up. So here's where it goes wrong.
Rats in the chat.
He ends up sponsoring the NATO summit in Latvia, Riga. No, in Riga, Latvia. What am I saying? In Riga, Latvia.
I don't know why you're looking at me. I have no idea.
Listen, I was educated in the South. I didn't know there was a country name. I didn't know there was. Is that Russian?
I don't know.
No fucking idea.
Sounds Russian.
Okay. Point is that he ends up sponsoring the summit, or part of the summit. sponsors some of it. While he's there, he ends up going to a cocktail party. He actually meets with the CIA too, but it's too much to get into. At a cocktail party, he ends up having a manic moment.
That shit hits right.
That?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that.
He ends up having a manic moment where he ends up telling a bunch of people at a cocktail party. They ask him about the Congo and what his plans were for Africa, and he basically tells them he's going to build like a 1 million-man army, and he's going to take over all of Africa and eventually the entire world. And then he says we won't need NATO anymore. So by the time he actually flies back to the United States, they're serving subpoenas on his companies. They're digging in. It takes about a year or so for them to finally come up with something they can charge him with. He won't take a plea. He says, I haven't done anything wrong. I had the right to use those funds, because they realize he's using funds that were held for the IRS. He's saying I'm allowed to use those funds. And we can argue that out in court. What ends up happening is the U.S. attorney gets together with his lawyer, and they get him ruled as a ward of the state, and he's incompetent, and they give him a guardian. They then send him to a psychiatric hospital where he's drugged, and when he comes back, they convince him to sign a plea, and they say, look, you're going to sign what's called an open plea. You're going to plead to the charges, but we're going to allow you to go in front of the judge and explain the situation. You might get probation or a couple of years. You'll be fine. He's completely drugged out of his mind.
What kind of drugs is he on?
Listen, if you read the transcripts of what he was on,
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on about Depakote and all kinds of just ridiculous stuff.
Did they give him any psychedelics?
I don't know about psychedelics.
Like any kind of like acid or anything?
How would I know? I don't know anything about drugs.
They wouldn't have listed it in there. I mean, you would have seen it if you would have read it.
I don't remember the name of all the
Just give
drugs.
people acid.
What are you talking about?
Acid?
Charles Manson.
I'm sure he was giving himself acid.
He's getting himself most of it.
What? No, the CIA was giving him acid, bro.
I'm sure he tells that.
How was the CIA giving him?
You don't know about that?
Come on.
MK Ultra?
What are you, bro? What are you?
No.
And that's Charles Manson.
Wait
Wait till you
was
see
a
the
part of
fucking
that program?
podcast I'm doing next week with the
Listen.
dude who wrote a book about that.
You don't know MK.
What's that about?
Me?
How the CIA was giving
MK
Charles
Ultra was
Manson
It was a
acid?
program
Really?
where they were giving.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
It's
weren't
fucked
they
up.
giving? Weren't they giving prisoners? Was it
it
prisoners
was
or
military
was it the
guys.
military? It was both, probably. I mean,
It was the CIA. I'm pretty sure it was the CIA.
How do you just give somebody acid?
they were dosing
They were
them.
doing
prisoners.
Mind control.
Yeah, they were doing mind control shit that they were testing on prisoners to use with military people to basically convince somebody just to go kill somebody and like completely drain them of all emotions and all empathy and everything.
See if they can
All right,
psych
so-
them up and just.
Yeah.
He's on
I'm
3,000
in.
milligrams of
I'm listening.
Depakote daily, 8 grams of Geodone daily, and
Cocaine?
Lebitol,
libtard.
whatever, daily, 2 milligrams of a sleep-induced agent, which helps accelerate the medication, which is Razamor or Metorafol. Bro, I can't even say. This is all the stuff he's on. He said he was
It's a
basically
Saturday night
drool.
special.
Yeah, it sounds
All right there.
sounds like a goddamn golden corral of cocktails.
So, anyway, he ends up. The judge. He talks. So then they take him off the medication. They never tell his guardian. They have him sign a plea. Here, sign the plea. You'll get to go in front of the judge. You can explain what happened. The judge will, you probably won't be in trouble. It's not a big deal, but you did break the law. Sign the plea. So he signs the plea. Well, you're a ward of the state. You're incompetent. You were given. They know he was given a guardian. Why are you asking me to sign a plea? I'm not allowed to sign a plea. You know I'm not allowed to sign a plea. They never tell the guardian. You know when the guardian finds out that he signed a plea and was found guilty and sentenced to prison? He calls him from prison 2 weeks after he gets there. And the guy's like, okay, well, hey, Frank, I'm glad you're doing and he's like, well, let me know when the trial is. He's like, when the trial is? What are you talking about? I've been sentenced. I'm in prison. I got 22 years.
Damn.
So he goes in front of the judge. They take him off the medication, and they say, go on in there and explain what you were doing, Frank. He goes in there and starts talking about world domination
wild.
and all this crazy shit.
They just set
They
him
set
up.
his ass
Yeah,
up.
3
set
days
him up.
later, the judge is like, look, You're done. Boom,
done,
22
son.
years.